Hi everyone, good morning. Let's get started. So, in today's class, we are going to learn about how to. Let me finish about how to write user stories in detail. I think that's what most people want. So, I'm going to tell you in detail about how to write a user story when you are gathering requirements, you're converting that into user stories, how to write in detail. Okay, so let's take a functionality. So, you are getting a project in ADP and all they want is for you to create a login functionality, okay, sign in functionality for different kind of users so that they can sign in and they can view the home page. Okay, that's the primary functionality that they want you to develop. So when I want to click on sign in, if you see here, they're asking me for some questions, whether I am a current whether my current employer uses ADP, whether my former employer uses ADP, or whether my former employer is out of business, that company doesn't even exist, or I am an administrator or owner of a company that uses ADP, or I'm an accountant of the company that uses ADP. Because if you have a very big company, someone, an admin only will be like monitoring all this, like from an HR or from admin only, they will be like, they'll have a single login and they will be the one generating payrolls for all I'm talking about small business, about let's say like 50 people, 100 people, like that. So, or you can be an accountant also. You want to track everybody's W-2s and also pay slips. An accountant, you want to go see everybody's pay slips, that also you can do. Or you are a financial advisor. So when they give you a sign-in functionality, so they're saying that someone who wants to use ADP, first of all, before even we like give them access to log into ADP, we need to ask this question. So this is for you. You have to create a user story, right? So there are different modules. So you have to say, as a user, if I am a current employer, I'm working somewhere, my current employer uses ADP, my payrolls are generated using ADP, then I will choose this. So once I choose this, I will click on next. Then only it's going to ask my user ID. Once you give your user ID, only then it's going to go and ask for your password, and then from there you'll be able to, if you verify everything, you'll be able to enter into the home page, right? Suppose you are a new user and you don't have an account with ADP, then you go for registration module. So registration module is, you don't have an account and you're going to create an account. So when you create an account, you have to remember that your employer would have already like registered your details, right? From their side, they would have already registered your details. So you're going to like actually like send a email ID or a mobile number that you have shared with your employer, because your employer is the one who's actually like generating the pay slips and you are just viewing your pay slips, right? So the account is actually mutual. So they have a common account, an admin account, and they are generating pay slips for maybe 100 employees. What you'll be able to see is only yours. So you'll be creating that account for yourself. So the unique identifier is the email ID or the phone number. Then you're going to have your information like your first name, last name, date of birth, which country you are. If you are from US, you're going to have social security number. If you're from Canada, you're going to have employer associate ID, or depends upon which country, right? So ADP is mostly in US and Canada. And then once you give all this information, you will have an account registered, and then you will have a username and a password. Then you'll be in future, if you want to log in and see your, for example, today is October 2nd, and you want to go and view your this month's payslip, September's payslip, you can go and then view it. So if this is a module that they want you to create, there are two types of modules here. One is, um, we are going to go with current employer. Let's say this function, okay, my current employer uses ADP. So let's say I'm working for CTS or TCS or any service based company, they'll be mostly using ADP. Okay, so those kind of, if I'm working for TCS and I want to see my last month pay slip, what will I do? I'll choose this. Okay, I'll click on next, and I should have a username and password. So once I give my username and password, I will be able to like enter from the home page. The navigation is going to be different, but now we are going to focus on this login module. So when you write a user story like this, you're actually seeing the end product, so it's easier for you. So once you gather the requirements, what you have to do is you have to go to click on create story. So what you're going to say is, as a existing ADP user. Okay. So what we're saying is like this person already has an account with us. Eh, I must be a login with a valid user ID so that I can view my homepage. Okay, for now, let's go only with homepage functionality. You just want to view the homepage. Okay, so you're not doing any other functions, just view. So what you're doing is like as an existing, so very clearly in the user story, you're saying this is for existing ADP users. This is not for the new users, because new user means it has to go to registration module. So existing means they already have an ADP account. Now they must be able to log in with a valid username and password. So if you see here, it's user ID. So user ID requirements, you have to get it from the business owners. What can be the user ID? And then password requirements, right? So now this is how you will write the description. Like as a user, I must be able to log in so that I can, so what's the functionality? I can view my homepage. Okay, that's the summary. In the description, you're going to clearly say like, what are the requirements and all that. So first of all, you'll be saying, what you're saying is like, they need to have uh, user ID requirements. So what are the user ID requirements here? Okay, so user ID requirements is like, let's say they want maybe 10 characters, needs to have an uppercase, also maybe one uppercase, one at least one lowercase, and then needs to have at least one number, then needs to have one special character. Okay, so you're giving that requirement. This is the user ID requirement. If the member or the customer is not using this type of user ID, then it has to throw an error. Okay, that's that. Then password requirements. Password is needs to be, let's say, 5 digits, at least 5 digits. Needs to be strong. Or strong in the sense, like I said, not repetitive. So you, like for example, if you're giving them instructions, do not use your previous passwords. If they're changing the password, it's a requirement that they're not supposed to like create another password. That also you have to say it as requirement. For now, just think like at least your password needs to have at least 5 digits, and then needs to have an uppercase, a lowercase, there are at least one number. Okay, I'm just hypothetically telling you, this is how you will write down, and they have to like log in. So valid username and password. So you're going to say that if they have it, this is how it should be, and if both are verified, they'll be able to log in. If one of the items is missing, for example, they have a valid user ID or they don't have a password, or the password is correct, user ID is wrong, we have to throw an error. So you also say success and error scenarios, success scenarios and error scenarios, right? So for example, what are the success scenarios? Success scenario is when they are able to give everything, and then we are able to make sure that they log in. Error scenarios is like when the user ID is wrong, or password is wrong, all this or both also. Okay, both fields are wrong. So that is also a possibility. We have to show them an error. Okay, invalid info. Please try with current info, something like that. We have to throw an error. So that is also there. So when you write a user story, what I'm trying to say is then you click on create, it will be created in the backlog. So if you go here, you'll be able to see it. Like you're doing just a scratch version. This is not a detailed version. You're just doing a scratch version. So what you're saying is this is a login functionality, and a user needs to be an existing user. So he must be able to have a valid username and password. Only then he'll be able to see the home page. And then you're giving the description. And what are the documents that you need to attach is like if we're in wireframes, if you're able to create the screen. Okay. And then languages, in scope languages are like we have a lot of scope here. So maybe like English, Arabic. I'm going to click on Arabic. Okay. So if you see that's there, then if you see Spanish, that is there. So if you see I don't know what is all this. Okay, let me take another. Okay, so whatever language we want to see, we are able to see it. So scope is like all these languages are covered, irrespective of all these, like in scope of all these languages, they must be able to log it. That is in scope, right? So in scope is you're going to write down all the languages. User can be be using any kind of language. Still, the requirements are going to be we are going to mimic the same requirements. Even in Arabic, we are going to have the same format, or if it's going to be Spanish, and then it's going to be the same. So however, whatever is the scope for this particular customer, we are going to like make sure they'll be able to log in. So in scope is like all the languages. You're going to like tell anybody who is following all these languages, anybody with valid username and password, they must be able to log in. That is in scope. And then out of scope is like, for example, other than these languages, all the other languages are out of scope. That is, you are defining in scope and out of scope for this particular functionality. So in scope is only these, like these requirements your business owners will give you, like in how many languages ADP is available, what are the out of scope languages, why this is very crucial for them to have like all this multi languages screen here. So for example, they want it to be international, they include all this, right? So it's not only in the US, there's an international brand, so that's why they want people from other countries also to use ADP. So now you define the requirements. How you will test this? So how you will test in the sense, once this product is in dev region. So we have three types of region. One is okay. So in software development, you have like 3 to 4 type of regions. One is development region, then you have QA, then you have UAT, then you have prod. Okay. Sometimes your UAT also can be QA, both can be same. So in the developer is going to develop the code in development region, right? Here you will not be testing. So he's going to do his unit testing. Okay. In QA, the testing team is going to test. Tester will be testing. Okay. So what they are doing is system integration testing. So that is SIT. Okay. So that also you won't be doing. In UAT, it's called user acceptance testing. So it's called as user testing. So this is like either the business owners are going to do it, or you will do it. Sometimes you will do it, you'll just show the demo that you have done it, can you please review the results and give the sign off. Okay, so either business owners will do, or BA is going to do, and you're going to like, but the sign off will be usually given by the business owners only. So without the sign off, we are not moving the code to production. So in production, after we go live, we have something called post implementation validation. So post-implementation validation is after this product is live, if the public is able to use it, you're going to again like test here in production with real member data, whether you're able to log in, right? That is post-implementation validation. So these are the 4 different types of testing for any software development we are going to do. Okay. So in unit testing, you won't be a part of it. What you will tell is the scenarios. So for example, for login functionality, we are going to have like 2 to 3 type of scenarios. So if both are correct, they'll be able to log in, and if one of them is wrong, they are unable to log in. So, or let's say both are wrong, they are unable to log in. So there are 3 types of testing we are doing. We are making sure all the languages that the business owners are defined are in scope. And also you're going to also say that before this screen comes, this is only for um, if I have a current employer. So the module is actually, whatever I'm talking is the module is regarding if am currently working and my employer if they're using ADP. So from there, if they choose, this is how they are going to log in, right? So that's very crucial. There are like 5 different modules for login. One of the module is my current employer uses ADP, and so I also have an account. Only then I'm able to log in. That's the functionality. So if after the developer they complete their testing, then the code will be moved to QA, right? So the developer is going to push the code to QA. In QA environment, tester is going to test. They also will be testing with like 2 to 3 test cases for each scenarios, and they are able to identify the errors. It's going to throw them errors for all the error scenarios. Then we are good. Once a product is in QA, testing team has finished their testing, then the code will be moved to UAT environment. And then from there only, like you have to test or business owners have to test, right? So you will know, like because you are gathering requirements, you know how this works also, and you'll have test results from testing team as well. So what you will tell the business owner is, listen, we have like 3 to 4 scenarios that you need to test. This is how you have to test. You can show them the demo, and if because they're completely new and they're seeing the product for the very first time, so they don't know how to navigate and all that. So these are the different scenarios you have to test. Please test and let me know if you're finding any errors. If they find any errors, they are unable to log in. Even with valid scenarios, they're unable to log in. You're going to like again come here and create a defect. So you come here to Jira, and then you click on create. You click on bug is nothing but defect. So you can say that unable to log in into ADP, and then share the screenshot. Attach the screenshot here. Whatever error message is coming, you can attach it here, and you're going to create the defect here. Okay. So in the backlog, you'll be finding the defect. This is the defect, unable to log in, and you'll assign it to the developer. He'll fix this defect. Once he fixes defect, again he has to move the code to from development to QA, from QA to UAT, and then UAT again your business owners will be testing. Now they're able to successfully test everything. They are providing you the sign off. So once they provide the sign off or approval, then only the code is going to production. So in production means public is able to use it, right? So if this is in production, actually, that's why if I have a valid username and password, I'll be able to log in and see my pay slips for last month. So when we move it to production means it's like real time data. That time it's like public is using it, member is using it, any customer end users are actually they'll be able to use this functionality. So what you will do is you will have access to prod region. So you can actually see if anybody is submitting or anybody the entry you'll be able to see if anybody is using it, how many times, how many users are using in production. So all that you'll be able to query from the database, and you'll be able to identify how many users have logged in today, and you can use that. You can do a post implementation validation. So when you create a user story, you have to understand that you are not creating a user story like from like for example the story points perspective. You are not creating something that cannot be achieved within that sprint, right? So for example, your team is using 2 week sprint. Let's say your team is having 2 week sprint. In 2 weeks, okay, so 2 weeks is 10 working days. In 10 working days, they have to like develop this feature, and then we have to test, we have to complete UAT. But if this cannot go to production, at least we are going to make sure we complete UAT. We are just waiting. Whenever business wants to go live, we can go live. So at least you are going to complete the development, SIT and UAT. These 3 testing has to be done in this 10 working days. So You have to make sure when you create a user story, important thing is I have a 2 week sprint. Can my developer develop this in like maybe 3 to 4 days? Because let's take the calendar. If you see here, for example, let's say the new sprint starts on 7th. Okay, so there's 2 week sprint. So first week is 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. Second week is 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th. 18th we have to go live. So if my developer picks the story on 7th, will he able to complete the development in 3 days and then give the code to the tester? Tester is able to complete in 2 days and move the code to UAT. UAT, the business owners is making something testing in 2 days, and by 16th everything is ready. You get the sign off so that we are going live on 18th. No, it's a very short sprint. So if you have a very complex user story, and if you cannot, you know that this is the story points is going to be 13 pointers, more than that they cannot complete this, right? So it's very very difficult for them. So from a user story perspective, number one, BA, what they have to do is like you have to add all the details, all the summary, description, acceptance criteria. So acceptance criteria for this user story will be like, so what's acceptance criteria? Let me edit. So acceptance criteria is acceptance criteria is this story is complete once an existing user, ADP user, is able to log in and view the homepage. Okay, so
Is acceptance criteria and success criteria both are the same?
correct. So acceptance is like, yes, correct. Your success scenario will be mostly your acceptance criteria, correct. If
Okay.
they're able to log in and they're able to view the home page, the story is complete. Or if you want to add more details, you can add, there are scenarios too, but mostly real time, right? We just want, how do you make sure this user story is complete? When they are able to log
Log.
in and then view the home page, that means this user story is complete. That's all. Okay, it's usually single liner. This is how you will say this story is complete once an existing ADP user is able to log in and view the homepage, right? So that's how. So summary, it will be like this. So description will be like this. Summary in the sense, this is the heading. As a, I must show that. As a, that standard, I, and so that format is standard. Okay, for any user story, that's the standard format. And description is like you're going to add all the scenarios, technical details. If there is going to be any diagrams, you're going to add that. Or if you're going any screenshots, you're going to add that. Any wireframes, you're going to add that. Mapping document, BRD, whatever it is, you're going to add that in the description. You're going to like write in detail about what are the success scenarios and error scenarios. Also, you in acceptance criteria, you're just saying when this user story will be complete. When can I close this user story? That is the meaning of acceptance criteria.
Okay.
When everything is completed, when this is going live, I'll be able to close the user story, right? When everything, development is completed, SIT is completed, UAT is completed. So when everything is ready, we can push the code to production. That means the story is complete. That's the meaning.
Yeah, okay. And I have a doubt, like how about the, you said, right, we have the developers and the testing team will do the testing.
Mm.
Like what data they will be using, and how about test data? They will be like creating their own test data, or how exactly it works?
Yeah,
It
so
will be
from the
tested.
database, you will have regions, right? You will have
Okay.
4D region, 5Q region, like this, you'll
Mhm.
have regions, okay?
Okay.
So for UAT, you will have that region. So it depends upon test data has to be created by them only. Developer has to create their own test data.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, QA team, so their primary work is to create test data and test.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So they will be doing it. For UAT also, they only have to give you membership details and everything.
Okay.
So
So
yeah.
yeah, got it.
So because you cannot, so one important, that's a good question you asked. You're not supposed to use real time data in UAT. Please do not use actual members data in UAT. That's a compliance, that will be a compliance issue. So you're not supposed to use that, right? Anytime, if some, and people will come and ask you, I mean, I have production. If you ask them like, do you have test cases that we can test in UAT? They'll be like, yeah, I can pull like five members from production and I can share it with you, all the details. So you're like, no, we cannot test. That will be a compliance issue. Everything should be dummy data, right? For unit testing, system integration testing, user acceptance, all these are dummy uses. The ID, whatever I'm using, password, whatever I'm using, it's all needs to be dummy, right? So you have to understand that. Do not use actual prod data for in test environment. So that when we say like I need five test cases, five user IDs, five password, so the QA team only has to like generate those.
Okay. Will they be using any app or like any like software, or how exactly they do? Do you have like an high level idea that we need to tell in the interview or something like that?
Yeah, membership. See, when you can ask them, usually as a BA, you won't be like generating test data. So what
Mm-hmm.
you have to get, what you have to, they will query. So what you have to do is, um, if you are doing it from scratch, I'll tell you how will you do. So most important is you have to know which environment you're testing. Let's say in QA, in 5Q environment you're testing, you need five member, right? Five user ID, right?
Okay.
Five member details. And that is what you want. And you
Mhm.
have other things you want. You want their user ID, you want their password, and then you're going to test all the scenarios. This five members user ID and password details, that testing team, like they may use any tool, because I have never generated any test data or anything. So they are going to generate it and then give you. As a BA, what you will do is you just ask them, I need test data, give me the test data, that's all. So how they are doing it, or I don't know what tools they are creating to do it,
Okay.
but
Mhm.
what you will do is you will coordinate and ask, for example, I need five membership details, five member details in UAT. Can you please give it? They'll give it for you.
Okay.
So
Got it.
just on a membership level only they will give. Scenarios you have to like develop.
Okay.
They won't tell you the scenarios and everything. So they,
O-
if I say like, John, can you add five members in QA? They will add it and let me know. That's all.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and then you have to test.
Okay. By like updating the wrong password and all those scenarios, right? We have to
Correct.
like create.
Like you
Okay.
have to test.
Okay.
Correct.
Got it.
So, but they won't be like membership level. They will help you. That's all. Other
Okay.
things you have to like test. So yeah, so very crucial. Please you don't use prod environment data in your test environment. If someone is asking you, and they will ask you also without knowing, other teams they'll come and ask you, can we test? I have details from production. I can query it and give it to you and all. And do not email test data. Okay. Test, for example, production data as well, very crucial. Okay, so do not email production member data to your email ID. So let's say a developer or from other team. Okay, so now let's say that ADP is integrating with a third party system and they want to send you some data, and that engineer, he's not even your company, and he's saying that, okay, I'm going to send five member details to you and I'll send it to email, and he's actually sending actual prod data to your email ID. Both will be out of compliance, you and the engineer. Okay, if even he's not from your company, he's also out of compliance, and there's a very good chance both of them getting fired. So you have to be very, while handling all this like production data, you have to say that we will give you a common like SharePoint folder or something. Please drop your files there. Do not email it to me. Okay, because when you email it to me, I can send it to my personal email, right? And it's actual member data, real time member data. And ADP is registration process. Let me take so that you understand how crucial all this is. For example, I'm not currently using it. If you ask me, see, it's asking for my first name, last name, date of birth, and my social security number. You know how important is social security, right? With the help of, if anybody knows your complete social security number, they can actually use this and get actually a loan itself without even, they can fake your identity. They can say that I am this person. this is the social security number, and they can create all the fake documents, and then they'll be able to get loan itself. And it's totally possible. We have seen it multiple times that people use the other social security number, get credit cards, use the credit cards. By the time you get an actual mail in your home saying that someone has created a credit card account in behalf of you, they would have already spent like at least $3,000 to $4,000, and it's under your name, and he's not going to pay it back. So you it's under, like, officially under government records, it will be under your name only. And you have to multiple times tell them, I'm not the one, someone stole my social security number, like that. Then that's headache. So you have to understand these data are very crucial. And you, if someone is sending this through email and with all this data, you'll be like, stop it, don't send it to me. Okay. And first of all, you're not supposed to test in prod with prod information. And if you're going to send something, especially third party companies, we are integrating with any other third party companies, what you have to tell is like, please send your files through an SFTP setup. So you're going to that file transfer should happen by SFTP setup only. Okay, secure file transfer protocol. That's how you're going to drop the even test files. That's how you're going to drop it. Do not send it through email. Do not send the actual any like production data through email. And don't get me into trouble. These are some of the things that you should know as a software you, as you're working in software development, you should know. And you should also tell people if they're new, they're juniors, they don't know what is compliance issue, and they're sending something is hacked, and they're sending to their own Gmail, all that will be they'll get into trouble. Okay. So yes. So from the user story perspective, what I'm telling is, there are three things that's very mandatory. First thing is like the way you write the user story, it has to be detailed, and you have to, as much as possible, you have to add all the details in the descriptions. You're going to like attach all the test data, right? For example, the developer wants to test this here, you're going to attach all the test data, test scenarios, everything. You're going to attach it. That's good, but you have to make sure that if they are not able to complete this in your current sprint timeline, and if this is going to take more time, then you're going to split the user story, maybe part one, part two, something like that. You're going to split the user story. If you have a 4 week sprint, then they'll be able to complete this 4 week sprint, in the sense, so 4 week in the sense, suppose my sprint starts on next Monday. This is week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. Okay, so November 1st, my sprint ends. That's when we are going live. So week 1, my developer can start developing, and then by maybe by 16th, he will give the code to QA. QA can start testing. By 21st or 22nd, I am able to do the UAT. So in UAT, let's say it's taking about like 3 days. By 25th, if you have a 4 week sprint, before a week before you go live a week ago, you're going to get the sign off. So if you're going on November 1st, 25th, you're going to get the sign off. So you cannot test UAT on 28th. They won't allow you. Deployment team won't allow you. You have to get the sign off by 25th. So you have enough time, and they'll be able to like finish the user stories, and you can go live on November 1st, right? So it depends upon whether your team is using 2 week sprints, 3 week sprints, or 4 week sprint. If it's a 4 week sprint, yes, they'll be able to do this. If it's a 2 week sprint, if they cannot do this, then you have to split this into multiple user stories. So that discussion you have to have with your engineers, your developers. You're going to ask them, see here, I've written a user story in the grooming sessions, right? In sprint project review sessions and all, you ask them. So I've written it. Can you please take a look at it and let me know whether you'll be able to finish this in 2 weeks? Or if you want to like divide this or cut into like smaller user stories, let me know. Accordingly, I will do it. Maybe part one, part two, something like that. However, you're able to track it, you're going to track it. And so story points estimation is crucial. Story points can be 1 pointer, 2 pointer, 3 pointers, 5 pointers, 8 pointers, and 13 pointers. So depends upon, like, 1 pointer means 8 hours. So if I can complete this story in 8 hours, then I give 1 point. If I'm able to complete the story in 2 days, it's 2 pointers. 3 days, it's 3 pointers. 8 hours is 1 day. So, however, so the time taken for you and the developer can be different. For you, it can be only 2 points. For the developer, it can be 5 points. So, how you will do is you will give analyst points and developer points. So, here, right, you will give both the points. 2 pointer for me, it's 2 pointer, but for the developer, he's the one doing actual coding. So for him, it can be 3 pointers. So totally 5 pointers is a story. So, and then if it's something that you have already developed with other markets, you have idea, you think this can be finished within 5 days, then it's fine. Something if you've done it like you're doing it for the first time, you don't know about completely about it, then you please give extra points, because we never know if they find, if you're going to get so many defects in UAT, in QA and all, we need time to fix it, right? So if you instead of like, you cannot change story points after you pick up the story. So that you have to remember, if Monday is my sprint, new sprint, and I'm going to pick up the story this Friday, I cannot change the story points from next Monday. What is given. But by experience you will know, like like for example, you've created like the login functionality. Earlier you think, oh, this is going to be crucial, we cannot complete this in 2 or 3 days. Accordingly, you'll bump up your points. It may be in future stories, but current stories you cannot like change anything. What when you are given your, when you're giving your story points, it's done. Okay, so be very careful how many points you're giving, and you have to understand that you are not completely something goes wrong, you are not completely responsible for things. Don't take ownership of if it is out of control. If the business owner is on PTO, he is unable to do UAT on time, it's not your fault. If in SIT some defects is there, they're unable to fix that defect, it's not your fault, right? So don't think like, oh, I'm unable to close this user story, what will happen to me? And then what the leadership will think, they'll think that I'm not doing my work properly. Be smart. If you think that you are not able to close this user story and this has to be continued, okay, what you will do is just add a comment that dev is completed, SIT is completed, we will close the user story, and then create another user story for UAT and implementation, and close this user story for the current spin, because you have completed dev and testing, right? So do not, even though we are telling here this user story is complete once everybody is able to log in, but it depends. You have a dependency on business owners, they are on PTO, you cannot test with them, or they are testing and you never, and sometimes stakeholders are like that, they will never respond to you. It will take immense effort from your side to coordinate with them, get just to get that one sign off. So they are not responding, you've sent multiple follow emails. What do you want to do? You can escalate to your scrum master and product owner and then say that I'm just waiting for them to complete UAT, and that person is not responding. From your side, you have done your part, right? So you don't take ownership for that work that they are not completing, because I'm telling you from my experience, if you don't close this user story, your manager, your director level, they are going to have a report, right? For today is October 2nd. Now what they will do today, all leadership, what they will do, they'll sit and get the report. They'll get the report of every team, how many user story was completed, how many was carry forwarded, how many is in pending, why people didn't close these user stories. They're going to talk from user story level only. They don't come and talk to you. They're not going to come and say that, okay, Pradeepa, what is your problem with this particular user story? Why you didn't complete it? Why you didn't close it? I'm not going to go and talk to a staff VP, right? Saying that I have dependency on my business. Yes. So from the leadership level, they are not going to come and ask you. Okay, they won't be asking you. Even your manager also won't be asking you. So what, Scrum Master also won't guide you on like why they, if you say that, okay, I didn't close this user story, I'm just going to carry forward it. They'll be like, okay, you carry forward. They're not going to come and tell you how you be impacted because of that. They don't come and they don't worry about your career and everything. They just say, okay, you carry forward it, you can do it. But from the reporting perspective, how it will look is like you didn't do the work. It's just being carried forward from multiple sprints. So you have to be very smart. When I create a user story, it needs to be a minimum viable product. What is a minimum viable product? Something that I can test and close within the current sprint. It can be sprint can be in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks. That's totally fine. You create a user story where you will be able to complete development and testing at least in that particular user story. Otherwise, you create a user story that only this user story is only for development, and for development a separate user story, for testing and implementation it's separate. So at least divide the user stories like that. For example, this one, you're going to say that this is for development. So just so it means that only unit testing is included. Now what you're going to do, you're going to like, I cannot clone. There is no clone feature here, right? Okay. So what I will do for testing and implementation, I will create another user story. So that when they see this user story, they will know, okay, this is a development user story. Expectation is this user story is complete once unit testing is completed. So that can be done within 2 weeks. So it's completed. I can close this. For testing and implementation, for SIT UAT, I have another user story. So that expectation for that user story is SIT and UAT is completed, and we can close that user story. So you're going to divide one user story into multiple user stories so that you can close that user story in that particular sprint. Okay, so do not like create user story in, so that it's very difficult for everybody to be on the same user story for so many sprints, and this is not getting completed, and every time in the status call you'll be like, testing is not completed, UAT is not completed, sign off, I didn't receive sign off, and so we cannot close this. So practically you cannot close this. So you have to be very smart when you write a user story. Discuss with your engineers, and then you say that, do you want a separate user story for development? Do you want a separate user story for testing? Do you want a separate user story for implementation? What do you think about it? Because I think this will go for more than two sprints, so let's divide it. And he will be like, okay, totally fine, we can do that. And so if you finish, if you're having separate user stories, you can close it. And then when leadership takes the report, whatever the stories you have, it will all be in closed status. So meaning that you have completed all your user stories. You are not having any kind of work that is pending. And so they are not worried about you. They'll be like, okay, whatever user story she's assigned to, she's completing it within that particular sprint. That's fine. And they don't teach you this. Nobody's going to sit and take class, right? In the work environment, they don't care if you close a user story also, they don't care. If you postpone it also, they don't care. Scrum master is not going to train you. Product owner also don't care. They have their own problems, issues, production issues. They have their own set of problems, right? So nobody's going to sit and take class for you. Then one day they'll be like, who can I fire now? Maybe there is budget constraints. Then they'll be like, okay, who can I fire now, in the whole group? So I have 10 people. Who's the one who is not completing their work? How they are going to like assume that you didn't complete your work? Because this person is carry forwarding one user story for multiple sprints, means this one is not doing any work. That's how they judge. They don't come and talk to you. Okay, then they'll be like, I'm sorry, there is budget constraint. You can leave the office, have a good time, have like all the best for your future. So you'll be very careful when you create a user story. First thing you have to understand is you have to write all the details. Second one is you make sure that you create multiple user stories, so that you are able to like close all the user stories depending upon your sprint timeline. If it is 4 weeks, it's fine. But if you have a 2 week sprint, if your team has 2 week sprints, you make sure that you develop such kind of user story so that you can close it. Okay. I think we are good for today. I will continue this for tomorrow. Thank you guys for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.